needed, in parentheses, hard conversations. This is not your rock bottom.
I'm Cass.
I'm Kathryn. And they hear Cass and they hear me and they say, oh my goodness, I think I might be a narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, if you think you're a narcissist, you probably aren't.
How to deal with betrayal. Recovering from narcissistic abuse.
We're Morrow Marriage.
Let's flip divorce statistics with the new marriage.
Welcome to the Morrow Marriage podcast, guys. And today I want to challenge you, but give a little more clarification on something that's tough for you guys. Needed, in parentheses, hard conversations. Now, this came from one of my men. He wanted to have an episode. Specifically, what he's going through right now is his wife refuses to talk about some of the things that they really do need to talk about. Okay. Now, if you know anything about me, I say less talk, more fucking action. But of course, you want to get to a point where you can have conversations, because I think communication is not key. Conversations are where it's at. That's back when you had dreams, goals, you were achieving things, you laughed. Nobody took anything personal when you were interrupted, you weren't disrespected. That's when you were banging each other's brains out. That's conversations. You weren't communicating, okay? So why is this important? Well, a lot of the stuff that you do need to address will need to be addressed. I will often tell a man not to talk about it, that's unless his wife needs to address an issue, okay? Kathryn taught us all a tool, and it's called a half wrap, and there's a great way to have a conversation started, one-sided, one person. And if it's me talking to a man, he's letting his wife feel and get a lot of thoughts processed and out, where she sees the safe container, she feels the safe container, she feels seen and heard. He has a deep understanding, okay? Where we get to with that, though, is that is not a conversation, okay? When you're ready, you can't rush this, but when you're ready, then you need to have a two-sided version of this, okay? And I mean, we don't always have to use half wrap, but you know, that's a really clear, decisive way to get people started. Mm-hmm. And the last time we did a wrap, you were like, so that'd be a full one. You were like, we should do this more. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah, it was great.
It was awesome.
I want to just jump in and clarify something though.
Mm-hmm.
You said something, I don't know the exact words, but you said it's a good place to start. It's a good starting point. Mm-hmm. Now, it's really important though, before you do any sorts, this is something that you call conflict intervention strategy. Mm-hmm. Before you do a conflict intervention strategy, he was mentioning, conversations over communication. There's skills and tools that you need to be proficient in before you move into conflict intervention. Because the reason it's called a conflict intervention is because you are intervening conflict. Right. That means that this is not going to be an easy conversation. It's a hard conversation. It's a deep conversation. It's a difficult conversation. It's what most people could call communicating, because it gets a little deeper than surface level. However, before you go into that, I give a whole list of skills that you need to be proficient in, that you need to learn. And Cass also has something called the stat response that you need to be proficient. If you're a man, women too, but men especially, need to be proficient in stat before you move into the half wrap. For women, I give other things, and I give the men the same list that you need to be able to do first, because otherwise a conflict intervention has the potential to bring more conflict if you don't have the communication tools. Mm-hmm. If you aren't well-versed and well-practiced in how you should be respectfully communicating, then your things are going to come in like the 4 horsemen, the Gottman's 4 horsemen: contempt, criticism, stonewalling, defensiveness. 4 of the leading causes of divorce. Those are going, if you don't have that's just one small thing. It's one big thing, but that's one small part of being prepared to do a half wrap, is making sure that you have control over those 4 horsemen, because that's going to bring more conflict.
I want to just clarify something else here too. So you notice she mentioned how you're going to learn some skills first. She referenced my stat response. Instead of safe reacting, keeping yourself safe, you follow the acronym STAT and you respond in this system. Okay. You're learning how to do all this stuff like that. There are tools that, or skills rather, that are not what you would call communication-based or even conversation-based, okay? What do I mean by that? Well, you have to have a clear understanding. If you go back to the last episode where I was talking about, like, it's ridiculous to not be able to make money, okay? There's always tools that you can learn, and there's foundational tools, right? It was ad copy that I was talking about in the last episode, that helped me write the right kind of scripts, quote unquote, for content to go on social media, okay? That was a skill that I learned. There's foundational skills that you can learn that start the next. So if we call that a communication skill, obviously, The hard conversation is delivering the message so that you want to follow and come to the podcast and then buy our book and invest in yourself and then move forward, maybe join our programs, etc. Okay? You're trying to have a hard conversation to get into the program over here, right? Instead of understanding that I actually need these skills. Well, do you have to figure out what skills are? Because there's many skills that are not even communication based, right? I mean, for crying out loud, we talk about using manners early in our program. We talk about being grateful in general for life, for the person that you want to be. I talk about fucking cleanliness, man, in the beginning. Many men don't realize, that they need to shower more. It's okay. You don't know what you don't know. Maybe your wife, we talked about coming clean a few episodes ago, maybe she should have the guts to tell you that you stink. Kathryn does. Okay. So
I stink.
No, you have the guts. But here,
you're a very good smelling guy.
Thank
you
you.
have very good hygiene.
But I take care of myself. Now, okay, so that's a skill you learn. Hold on, let's hear me out. I don't care how good your fucking communication skills are and how great you want to get through this hard conversation. Her emotion, your emotion, it's a struggle. We get through it. Emotional connection. Oh, great. We can even talk about where does that go? Physical connection. Well, if you stink, she doesn't want to talk to you. Okay? She don't want to get close to you. And yet you still want to put her head down there? Like, come on, man. Like, there are foundational skills that you must learn. So that's the first step that I would say. Now, if you have a partner, because where he really wanted to go with this is, okay, so you've learned the foundation. Okay? You've learned all the communication in brackets or quotation marks. Skills that you need, and now you're ready to go deeper, and you're ready to get through and make this emotional connection, because that's what happens when you get through a hard conversation, right? Now what? Well, now you might have a partner who just brings up the past too much, won't let it go. Well, that means you have to look at value. You're not valuable enough that they still think about you as the past, right? You have to look at your skills on invitation. How good at you are you bringing your partner to the new life? Okay. After that, men start to go through, well, you have to talk about this, or you have to talk. No, you shouldn't want to. You've heard us. We just gave the mashed potato story. We gave you all these stories from the past. We didn't sweep under the rug like you would say it. It's just, it wasn't needed. So that's your next question. Are these conversations needed? Right. And then if there is something needed, and by the way, you should probably get help for that. Because if you're going down into those 4 horsemen that Kathryn was talking about, you're probably not even ready for the hard conversation.
No, you actually have no business having hard conversations if you cannot manage your own emotions, reactions. It's okay to display emotions, but what are the behaviors that are coming out in that display of emotions? If you can't monitor that, because you can be angry, but your behavior while angry is what's important. You can be sad, and there's nothing wrong with crying. And most people are not manipulating with crying, but some people are. You need to be able to control who you are, no matter what you're feeling. Keep the 4 horsemen at bay. And there are so many other skills that need to be learned. If you are not in that area where you're learning how to control, maintain, learn new skills, tools, all of that, do not have a hard conversation. It's going to make the topic harder, and it's going to bring up other things that are going to be hard. And that's why it snowballs. You try to talk about things and people are like, I don't know what to do. I'm going towards divorce. We tried talking about it. We tried therapy. You don't have the tools to get past it. You just get stuck in it. And not only do you get stuck in it, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until you get divorced.
And so you guys, if you can wrap your head around this whole concept that might not be needed, and you pick and choose based off your skill set what we're going to talk about. That does not mean you might have to deal with your partner. Of course, they might have things they're just cramming down your throat. Well, then it's the other skills, responding, not reacting, right? That's what she's essentially saying right there. Then if you're doing everything right, which you're not if you're not in our programs, and even then we have to correct you. But like at that point, is it really just a time thing? Like, have you been consistent long enough? I talk about safe containers for your wife to feel. Well, like if she actually can't feel safe because you're back to saying, well, we already addressed this. I'm not that guy. One is telling her, we already addressed this, saying, I don't care that you still have this hurt, have this pain, have this struggle, whatever. That's the first thing. The second one's just defensiveness, right? You have to understand that means that you're not actually using the skills. So we can learn skills all we want, but if we don't use them, they're just useless. Absolutely useless, which makes you useless. Let's get real, right? At least in that area, right? I mean, do you have a lot of women that go up, it's working, and then pull back? It's not like my nice guy, I just mean in general. I'll use Jillian, for example. Did she get to a point where she wanted to quit? Not that she could or could not, but did she ever get to a point with you where she was like, maybe I should just pull a pin?
Oh yeah, all of my women, because you get discouraged. You try and try and try, you don't get the results that you want. Almost every woman, even if it's fleeting, like, why am I even doing this? What is my way out? Because it's exhausting.
Yeah, the reason why I bring this up is because it's the exact same thing for some of my men, okay? But it's crazy to me how many of you guys, because especially it's people from the podcast or people from our books that they just want into the program. But it's crazy when I say, so, you're a little different. You've been listening to podcasts. You have read my book or our books, and you know a lot more. So what did you hope for on this call? And they almost all have that sort of response. Like, well, what do you do when, you're trying everything? And it's just, how do you get them to come along? And sometimes I feel like quitting. Like, what do you do with all of that? You just don't fucking quit. That's it. You have to have somebody pull you back in, the right people. There's so many different levels, right? I mean, those people are the same people that give you a turnaround time that you're not capable of yet when your emotions start to go onto the crazy train. So understand there are many levels to a hard conversation. You need them, but often you don't. Remember the example, if you stare around the room looking for everything brown, right, for 10 seconds, and I say, how many red things were there? You go, I was looking for brown. Like hard conversations are the brown. That's why you get on a phone call with me. I'm like, I don't care how you got here. Do you want me to talk about licking toilets or my parents never being around? Do you want me to talk about all the, who cares? Look for red, create the love, man. That's it. And a hard conversation might bring you closer so you can create the love, but you got to use your head. What's important? Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. We'll see you guys.
Bye.